in the breathtaking mountains of Peru, where ancient condors soar through mist-kissed peaks and the air itself whispers of freedom. A golden mountain lion cub named Mufasa was born into paradise. His first breath was mountain air, pure and wild. His tiny paws first touched earth that had never known chains. His mother, a magnificent huntress with eyes like amber flames, taught him the sacred ways that mountain lions had followed for thousands of years. She showed him how to read the wind's secrets, how to move like flowing water across rocky terrain, and how to listen to the mountain's ancient heartbeat. For one magical year, Mufasa roamed territories that stretched beyond horizons. He learned to hunt alongside crystal streams that reflected his golden coat. He discovered hidden caves where his roar echoed like thunder through stone chambers. Every sunrise brought new adventures across endless territories. Every sunset found him curled against his mother's warmth, her purr vibrating through his small body like a lullaby of the wild. This was the life nature intended for him, boundless, beautiful, and free. But when Mufasa was barely 2 years old, when he was just beginning to understand his place in the vast mountain ecosystem, darkness came crashing into his paradise. Poachers, driven by greed and deaf to the mountain's protests, shattered his world forever. They came at dawn, when the mist hung low and muffled his mother's desperate roars. With nets and tranquilizer darts, they tore him from his mother's protective embrace. The last thing he heard was her anguished cry echoing across the peaks, a sound that would haunt his dreams for decades. They sold him to a traveling circus for money that could never measure the value of what they had stolen. His universe, which had once stretched from mountain peak to valley floor, suddenly shrunk to the dimensions of a rusty cage on wheels. The cage was barely large enough for him to stand, let alone move with the fluid grace that was his birthright. Gone were the crystal streams and endless skies. Gone were the rocky ledges where he had learned to leap and climb. In their place, metal bars, stale air, and the constant rumble of truck engines carrying him further from home. The mountain's song grew fainter with every mile until it was just a whisper in his memory. For 20 brutal years, 7,300 days, this magnificent predator was reduced to performing degrading tricks for crowds who saw him as mere entertainment. They made him jump through flaming hoops while his instincts screamed to run. They forced him to balance on platforms while his powerful muscles ached for the feel of natural stone beneath his paws. They paraded him in circles while his wild heart yearned for territories he could barely remember. Season after season, town after town, the circus moved on. But Mufasa remained trapped in that same metal prison, watching the world through bars that never opened to freedom. His golden coat, once brilliant as sunlight on mountain stone, gradually dulled to the color of forgotten dreams. His roar, which should have echoed across canyons, became barely a whisper of its former power. And his spirit, his wild, magnificent spirit, nearly broke under the weight of captivity. But some stories refuse to end in darkness. Animal Defenders International, warriors for the voiceless, refused to let his story end in chains. These dedicated souls had heard whispers of a mountain lion trapped in illegal captivity. They tracked the circus for months, following a trail of breadcrumbs through paperwork and bureaucracy. They navigated through lies and cover-ups, driven by the belief that every life matters. Their investigation took them across countries and through red tape that seemed designed to protect those who profit from suffering. And when they finally found Mufasa, when they first laid eyes on this broken king, their hearts shattered at what they discovered. The magnificent mountain lion they had come to save was a shadow of what nature had intended. His ribs showed through matted fur. His eyes, which should have blazed with wild fire, held the hollow look of dreams deferred too long. His powerful frame, built for racing across mountain ridges, had weakened from years of confinement. But in those dimmed eyes, the rescuers saw something the circus had never managed to extinguish: the flicker of hope. The rescue was dangerous and complex. Legal battles raged while Mufasa waited. Permits had to be secured, transport arranged, and a team of veterinarians assembled. Every day of delay was another day of suffering, But the rescuers knew they had only one chance to do this right. When the moment finally came, nothing could stop them from cutting through those heavy chains that had bound him for 2 decades. The sound of bolt cutters breaking his shackles rang out like a bell of freedom. For the first time in 20 years, no metal connected Mufasa to his prison. The cage door swung open with a creak that seemed to echo through time itself. Yet when Mufasa took his first tentative steps toward freedom, when he tried to walk on legs that had forgotten how to carry him toward hope, his weakened body collapsed under the weight of liberation. For terrifying moments that stretched like eternity, it seemed like freedom had come too late. The veterinarians rushed to his side as his breathing grew shallow. Had they arrived only to watch this magnificent creature slip away at the very threshold of the life he deserved? But this mountain lion carried within him the strength of his ancestors. He was stronger than anyone imagined. The blood of generations of wild hunters flowed through his veins, and that ancient power refused to surrender now. With expert care and gentle encouragement, he slowly recovered. Each day brought small victories that felt like miracles. The first time he lifted his head without struggle. The first time he stood on his own 4 paws. The first time he took a step, then another, then another. His first drink of fresh mountain water was a baptism. Cool and clean, it washed away the taste of captivity and reminded his body of what it meant to be truly nourished. His first breath of forest air filled his lungs with the perfume of pine and wildflowers, awakening senses that had been dulled by years of stale circus air. His first night sleeping under stars instead of circus lights. He lay on his back and stared up at constellations that had been hidden from him for so long. In the protected sanctuary, surrounded by the mountains that called to his ancient memory, Mufasa began to remember who he truly was. Each day, his golden coat grew a little brighter. Each week, his roar grew a little stronger. Each month, his spirit soared a little higher. The sanctuary staff watched in amazement as this broken king slowly reclaimed his crown. He rediscovered the joy of grass beneath his paws. He remembered how to stalk and hunt, even in play. He learned to trust again, to accept the gentle care of humans who asked for nothing but the privilege of witnessing his healing. Most importantly, he learned that he was worthy of love, worthy of freedom, worthy of the life that had been stolen from him. Mufasa lived his final years not as a circus attraction performing for applause, but as the wild mountain lion he was always meant to be. He spent hours gazing at distant peaks, perhaps remembering his mother's lessons or dreaming of territories beyond the sanctuary. He basked in afternoon sunlight that warmed his coat without asking for tricks in return. He slept when he was tired, roared when he felt powerful, and lived according to his own wild rhythms. When his time finally came to join his ancestors, he passed peacefully in his sleep, surrounded by people who had devoted their lives to his well-being. His last breath was mountain air. His final rest was on earth that knew no cages, and somewhere in those distant peaks, perhaps his mother's spirit was waiting to welcome him home. Sometimes, the greatest victories come not from conquest, but from compassion. They come to those who never stopped believing that every life, every dream deferred, every spirit broken by cruelty, matters. Mufasa's story reminds us that it's never too late for freedom, never too late for healing, and never too late for love to triumph over suffering. In a world that often feels cold and careless, his journey stands as a testament to the power of refusing to give up on anyone.